Hi everybody, Robyn Ivy here. Hope your day is going amazing. So I haven't told you guys for quite a while some of my own story, and I thought that might be helpful this morning. One thing I wanted to share with you guys is somebody actually just asked me this morning, like, what do I do? And I realized how much I don't like that question anymore. And part of it is because what I do feels a little hard to explain, which I'm sure is true for many of you who are multi-passionate and into a lot of different things, but also because it just sort of involves a story, right? And stories take longer to tell. So what's true is I've been a photographer since I was 12 years old. I've just had a camera with me pretty much ever since. And for a long time, having a camera in my hand really was the way that I felt like I belonged. It gave me a reason for being places when I was in middle school that I wasn't comfortable feeling like I belonged to be just on my own. It's played a lot of different roles in my life. Commercially speaking, the things that I shoot a lot of branding clients, so solo entrepreneurs who are really trying to make a name for themselves and build out their visual brand. I work for Fortune 50 companies, capturing their company culture, all their visual assets for their marketing campaigns, for their ad campaigns, for their websites, you name it. Pretty much anytime you go in a doctor's office and you open a brochure and there was like a knee replacement thing, that somebody like me has shot that. So that's the stuff that I do. How I ended up moving into the coaching space and doing some of these other experiences is because when all these entrepreneurs started to come, so it was like 10 years ago or longer, right? When this online space really started to take hold and people started creating their own businesses, I found that a lot of people were coming to me who were in transition. They were moving into this other space that they'd never worked in before. And because they had never worked in it before, they didn't really have a whole identity for themselves built around it. They knew that it was something that they could do. They felt called to it. It was definitely like a spark of who they already were. Like, I really believe that none of us are called to do things that aren't already kind of divinely part of who we are to begin with. So it's less for me that people come needing a photo of something that they're not, and more that like they're coming and they need promotional images, branding images, to support this thing that they've identified in themselves, this innate thing in themselves that now they're stepping into. Right? So people really come to me photographically for one of two reasons. Either they've already done something, whether they already have the company, have the brand, have the thing, and their images are out of date and they don't really align with what they've created. Or the second version is people coming who are stepping into something new and now they really need to document who they are in this new role. But the problem is a lot of times when they're coming for the photographs, they're coming for the photographs long before they've really done that job for very long or lived a life of a person who is that fill in the blank, author, coach, philanthropist, whatever that new career move is for them. Even though they feel really called to it, they're uncomfortable living in the skin of a person who does that for a living because they haven't done that part of it yet. They've identified the part of themselves that's capable. They've identified the desire in themselves, but they haven't fully identified themselves with being a person in real life in the day-to-day who does X job. So part of the work for me then, in order to be able to get great images of them, let's say you're a business banker and you decide that you want to become an author. And so you're coming to me because you need branding shots or headshots or things to create a visual library of your role as an author. But that's not who you've been before, right? So not only do you not have images of yourself sort of substantiating you as an author, but you don't have any images that even show you feeling like an author because it's just that new in some ways, right? So my job became really helping people step in energetically and emotionally into the part of themselves that's really connected with this thing that they want to do, this new role that they're playing, because it was already inside of them. So my work is to connect them to that part so that when we take the photographs of them, there is no disconnect between seeing an image of them as an author and them seeing themselves as an author, right? Because they already are an author. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying they are and they wouldn't be ready to do any of this stuff. They are the thing. They just haven't lived the thing enough to like fully embody that version of being that. So my point is that all of this work started because people were needing help being able to walk into that part of themselves, connect with that part of themselves, embody it long enough to really be able to be that in the photographic experience. And in that part, we both learned that there was a lot of additional coaching possible, because suddenly all these questions of like, yeah, but how do I do that? And then how do I walk out of the studio and still carry this with me? How do I stay connected to the part of me that's an author? Where does that confidence keep coming from? How do I remind myself on a day-to-day? What does an author do? How do they move through the world? What kind of things like, oh, this is where I'm stuck. How do I get past this obstacle where I no longer feel connected to that part of myself? Like there are a million imposter syndromes that come up, fear that comes up, not good enough that comes up, like all the things that come up, or really just actually doing something brave and bold and needing somebody in your corner to say, like, to champion you for having done it and to acknowledge that you did it. So that's where a lot of this coaching work came in. And then also just living behind this curtain with people one-on-one. I get to hear over and over again the things that everyone is up against. But because you're not sharing it with each other, people share it with me the same way they probably would a therapist or a doctor or somebody else working in one-on-one intimate environments, but they're not saying it to each other. So sometimes you guys don't get the privilege of being able to hear from one another how alone you feel, how overwhelmed you feel, how scared you are, how afraid you are to be found out when people realize that like, who are you to be an author or a fill in the blank, right? A lot of times our families provide an awful lot of resistance to allowing us to step in and become to the next version of ourselves. So it's really important that you have people in your corner that are willing to see you in a flexible way so that there's room to allow you to become who you're becoming. And so that's a lot of the work I do. And in that space, realize that it would be great to create these experiences so that you guys had a chance to come together and talk about these things together so that you know you're not alone in it. Because it's cool for me to hear this, and it's great to help you guys in the one-on-one coaching space. But I actually think there's great impact and profound power in knowing that you're not in this alone and that there's a tribe. Yeah, so that's the little bit of that story. I thought that might be helpful for you guys this morning, just to get a sense of what I do. So I offer commercial photography services still. I offer one-on-one coaching with people. I consult for a lot of businesses around their visual branding and how to correctly use their visual assets. And I also offer immersion groups and ways for small groups of people to come together in like mastermind pods to do like wholehearted, bold living, but together in supported environments, small supported environments. And I also host experiences in my studio, which is also available for rent. So cool. God, this is a long one. Sorry, you guys. One day. All right. I hope you have a great day. If there's ever anything I can do to help you out, I always say I see people for a living. So if you need that, holler. Have a good one.